Hello everyone, and welcome to a brand new installment of Questions and Banswers, where you guys bring the questions, I bring the banswers, you know the drill. Today we're going to be diving into the history and lore of my longtime running competitive TF2 team, froyotech.
How did froyotech form?
According to the records on ESCA, froyotech first officially formed just before Season 16 on February 23rd, 2014, and going forward, that day will forever be known as froyotech Day. The original roster of the team was meant to be Shade on Medic, Dummy on Demo, me on Pocket Soldier, Blaze on Roaming Soldier, Clockwork on Flank Scout, and Ruin on Combo Scout. The team was basically a merger of sorts, a super team consisting of top invite teams of season past, such as HRG and another team called Watch This, and it would have been my first season as an invite pocket soldier, but we'll get more into the history and details about how that all worked out shortly. So I had previously played with Blaze all the way back in Season 5 of ESCA. We played open together. He was a scout, best known for his pistol aim, his jumps, and his use of the Force of Nature. And I was a demo main back then, known for my sticky traps, blindettes, my fast rollouts, and of course, my pipes. So him and I won open together, and then we went our separate ways, but we eventually reunited when froyotech was formed, but this time around on completely different classes. I had also played with Clockwork previously on EMG. We had won a couple invite seasons together, and he had made a name for himself as pretty much the best scout in the game. And then of course, Shade was also on multiple teams with me. He was my medic going all the way back to Season 6 of ESCA, and then we had played together on teams like EMG, BP, HRG, you know. However, that original froyotech roster didn't actually last for very long, and there's a bit of a funny story with how that all played out. The last weekend of March 2014, I had just gotten my first car, my first driver's license, and I thought I was ready to embark on a road trip down to Northern California from Washington, where I used to live, to play at the Sacramento Land Fest TF2 tournament. On the way down the coast, I stopped through Portland and picked up Dummy and Xtine, and we rode together down to the event. But we played the LAN, we won, and as we drove back up, we stopped at Dummy's place to play some scrims that night for the froyotech team. However, after that night of scrims, it became pretty clear that our roster wasn't quite living up to our standards, and the chemistry we had hoped for wasn't quite there. So we realized that we had to make a bit of a change. At that point, Ruin and I had actually swapped roles. He was playing Pocket Soldier, I was playing Pocket Scout already. So it didn't really make sense for the team to have those roles. So we decided that Ruin was going to have to be cut from the team. I nominated Dummy to do the honors, to deliver the news that night, but it had gotten late into the night. And in an unfortunate coincidence, it was approaching April Fool's Day in Ruin's time zone. So when he was told that he was cut from the team, he thought we were joking. He thought, you know, it was just Dummy doing his thing, trolling. But we were dead serious, and it got a bit awkward, but it had to happen. And from then on, we picked up Lansky onto the team. He was our pocket soldier. I went back to Combo Scout, and we set off on our path of domination. Another funny story, froyotech actually came very close to not happening. In Season 15, the season preceding the forming of froyotech, two very crucial events happened that allowed for froyotech to exist. First, the team Watch This, that consisted of Clockwork, Dummy, Blaze, Justin, Pure, and Milo, they actually ended up disbanding and not playing the season over a silly dispute with ESCA over an e-check payment. So that happened, and then, secondly, my team, which was Team IT at the time, competed at the ESCA Season 15 LAN playoffs, and we narrowly lost to Classic Mix-Up, taking second place for the season. And at that point, Shade approached me about forming a new team, and I was much more open to the idea of, you know, creating this super team, given that I had just lost and I really wanted revenge. So had ESCA cleared that e-check and had my team won LAN, froyotech may have never happened.
What are the origins of the name froyotech?
So the name froyotech was devised by Shade, and it was actually just a silly parody of the team Yo-Yo Tech, but then laced with a bit of an inside joke teasing Clockwork about the one time that he worked at a frozen yogurt shop as a summer job. Honestly, the name is kind of silly and meaningless when you think about it, but we've come to impart new meaning upon the term froyotech being the greatest TF2 team of all time, which I think is pretty cool. An alternative name that was suggested for the team back then was Forehead Gaming. Ruin actually proposed this name because it was another inside joke, but this time teasing Blaze, about an infamous photo of Blaze that was circulating through the community where he had his hair kind of slicked up and his forehead on display, and people really teased him about that. The tag for Forehead Gaming would have been 4G, and we actually used that for a while before switching to the, all caps Froyo tag that we still use to this day.
Who has played on froyotech over the years? What were the different eras of the team?
In the 7-year history of the team, nearly 30 players have been officially recognized as froyotech players, donning the black, white, and green. And I would define 3 very distinct eras in the froyotech team lifespan. First, there was the OG era, and a few of the players from this era ended up making repeated appearances in the roster over the years throughout the entire lifespan of the team, such as Blaze and Shade. And of course, myself. I've been here the entire time, the only constant thread in the team. Next, after the disbanding of the OG roster, there was a bit of a rebuilding phase where I had to start over from scratch, but I found a few key players such as Patty and Free State who proved to be great teammates that I was able to build upon and keep them around for a while and set the team back on track. And then that brought us to the modern era, which I'd say we're still in to this day, with players like Habib, Yomps, Eric, and Jay as some of the most standout and powerful members of the team. Interesting little tidbit, at one point, every single Invite Playoffs team in ESEA had at least one froyotech alum on the roster. So froyotech has kind of been the training grounds for many of the top competitive TF2 players that you know to this day.
What led to the disbanding of the OG froyotech roster?
I think the biggest turning point for the OG roster was the departure of Lansky before I-55. He and I were kind of the in-game leaders, the co-captains, the tacticians of the team, and we shared a very serious and constructive attitude towards the game. So when he left and we picked up Ash as his replacement, the overall vibe and culture of the team shifted completely. Things became less focused and a bit more rowdy, and eventually I felt that I kind of lost respect and control within the team as the team leader, and it really showed when we struggled during the ESEA Season 20 playoffs. After some tense moments and our 3rd place finish that season, every single teammate of mine went down the list and said that they were leaving the team, leaving only me as the sole remaining OG froyotech member. The silver lining though in all of this was that I was able to completely take over at that point and remake the team with the culture that I thought that it should have, and things have proven to go much better going forward with that style. So nowadays, when I recruit people to the team, I weigh a player's alignment with that froyotech ethos to be just as valuable as their skill and their experience.
What were your favorite moments in froyotech history?
Our very first ESEA LAN in Season 16 was one of my favorites for sure. In the weeks leading up to that event, I was actually playing Demo Man for the team, but then pretty much the day before LAN, Dummy and I swapped roles again, and I ended up on Scout and he was back on Demo. Season 16 actually was the only season that I've ever played 3 different roles on the team: Scout, Soldier, and Demo at various different points. And one crazy fact about that Season 16 LAN was that I had just moved to California 2 months beforehand, and had I not won that LAN, I actually would have struggled to make ends meet here in California. So there was a little bit of added pressure and a little bit of extra motivation for me to win that tournament. But thankfully since then, I have more than achieved financial stability and no longer depend on tournament winnings whatsoever for that. And a lot of that is thanks in part to you guys for engaging with my content, so keep it up. Another ESEA LAN that I have fond memories of was ESEA Season 18, because our team was pretty established at that point. We had won the previous 2 seasons, and I was feeling a little more, confident and a little more cocky maybe, and a little more loose, to be honest. So at that LAN, that was the first time I ever really engaged in the whole, drinking some beers and alcohol with the boys at the tournament. And I've kept up that tradition to this day, being a little more social and active at the tournaments as opposed to super focused on winning and, no time for self-indulgence. But of course we do strike that balance. Winning is the first priority, but if we have room, we'll fit in a little bit of fun too. Another pretty cool thing that happened at this LAN was Shade set up a billboard for our team. So we got to pose in front of that, and all of the people driving by on the highway in Dallas were probably very confused. Another really meaningful event for me was I-52, because that was the first World Championship tournament that we ever won, and we did so in a very, very dominant fashion. We had fallen short, years previous to win a tournament of that caliber, so it was really special to finally achieve that. And from that moment on was actually when I was able to start doing more content creation and eventually doing TF2 stuff full time. So very important turning point for me. And if I could say an entire year that I really liked, it would have to be 2014. That was the year that the team was formed. We won 3 ESEA LANs. We went to the CEVO LAN and GXL LAN and the I-52 LAN. So we dominated 6 LANs that year. It was absolutely insane, and nothing has come close ever since. Another favorite event of mine, of course, was I-55. I played Pocket Soldier at that LAN, and I put on a legendary MVP performance that I am still incredibly proud of to this very day. And then we'll round it out by mentioning Rewind 2 and I-63 LANs. They were also super fun and a great time, not only because we won, but because we had a really great team culture, and I got along with everyone on the team very, very well.
What has set froyotech apart from the rest? How has the team survived for so long?
The biggest thing that I'd say sets froyotech apart from the rest is that we have much higher standards for ourselves and a culture around striving to be the best. Many other teams, they're much more relaxed and, they don't really practice as hard, and worst of all, they disband their teams every single season, so they kind of just wipe the slate clean, and they can never really build that core of players and build that foundation that will create a truly great team. If I can give myself some credit, I always do take it upon myself as the team leader to make sure that the team stays alive no matter what, so that we're always practicing, improving, adapting, and of course, I do think in-game, I bring a lot to the table as the team's main caller, and a lot of other teams, they kind of lack a main caller that really gets that cohesion going. But by focusing on building up that productive system and the team culture and style, it has allowed froyotech to survive as a long-lasting team with many, 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 many accomplishments. And if I could encourage anyone out there to do one thing to elevate the entire TF2 ecosystem to the next level, it would be to step up as a team leader and to make sure that your team sticks together for multiple seasons and strives to be great.
How does froyotech deal with the ups and downs of competition?
As I mentioned earlier, everyone on the team has pretty high standards and expectations of each other, so none of us really enjoy losing, and we try to avoid it whenever possible. However, losing is an inevitability, and it just comes with competition. No matter how good you may be, you're going to lose sometimes. But the key is to take every loss as a learning experience to make sure, you don't lose the same way next time. So you can turn any loss into a future victory. That's the key. Our team has historically been able to do this more than any other team. we've been really good at adapting and overcoming bad situations and turning things around. You know, if we have a downturn, we bounce right back and reach brand new heights. So always keep your eye on the prize and avoid complacency whenever it starts to seep in. I'll also say that having been around for so damn long, it allows me to have a bit of a unique perspective about focusing on more of the long-term trend of the team rather than getting fixated on short-term results. I've seen players and teams come and go and rise and fall, but froyotech has always persisted and outlasted them all. So, you know, think back to the early days of the team. If I had given up on this team when we lost just a few matches in 2015, you know, I could have been potentially throwing away years and years worth of championships. So whenever setbacks come in, you know, a couple bumps in the road, lost matches and events, that's not going to stop this train from rolling on, because there's always great things ahead.
What does the future hold for froyotech?
While the future is infinite and unpredictable, one thing I think you can count on is that the team will continue to exist in some form, competing at the highest levels of TF2 as long as I'm around. So I'll try to keep froyotech alive and, you know, keep things interesting at the high levels of TF2 competition for you guys. Beyond that, you know, we've always fantasized about the idea of pursuing the esports dream by hopping games or securing some big sponsorship, establishing a team house, or even elevating our own brand to become some sort of multi-gaming organization. But nothing has quite felt right, and we've always just been so drawn to TF2 that I think we're just going to stick with being an independent grassroots TF2 team for now. But one thing I do feel very strongly about is that froyotech has that meaning as the greatest TF2 team of all time, and I would want to be kind of protective of that legacy. So if we branched out, we'd have to make sure that we did it right and we're, you know, pursuing that #1 spot.
How can someone support froyotech?
Beyond just cheering for our team in the matches and following all of our players and their content on social media or their channels, fans can support the team by buying merch, just like, you know, this shirt here. We do have a team shop set up, which I have linked in the comment and description of this video. We've got a bunch of designs and variations, and we're always thinking about adding new ones. So if you got any ideas, feel free to let us know. I can personally vouch, though, that the quality of the shirts, you know, all the apparel, the hoodies, the shirts, they are very premium and very much going to be worth your money. We always put all of the funds towards the future of the team. You know, if we're going to a LAN, we put the funds towards that to make it more sustainable for us. So you get value, we get value, and, you know, we get some great TF2 out of it as well. That about does it here for the froyotech lore. Maybe I missed something. Maybe you want to learn about some other aspect of froyotech history or any other topic. Let me know what you'd like to see in a future episode of Questions and Banswers in the comments of the video. And until then, I will see you later.